Hi YouTubers. It's been a while since I did a video on orchids, and I thought I would make a quick video, but not just about orchids. I want to talk about something that is actually a lot more important than flowers. It's about the coronavirus, which is now named COVID 2019 or COVID-19. And as we all know, we've all heard about it in the news, I'm sure. This is a virus that is deadly, and it is very, very contagious, possibly more contagious than the flu. So just to give you a little bit of a backstory, one of my hobbies besides fish and orchids and antiques has been infectious disease. And it started back in the early 90s. I read a book about the Spanish flu, the Spanish influenza of 1918, which was a horrible, horrible pandemic that swept the world 3 consecutive times in a very short period of time. And it killed, and the numbers are contested even to this day, upwards of 100 million people. There were entire towns in the United States of America that were quarantined. There were towns that were resistant, and they didn't believe the hype. They said it was nothing more than the grip, which is what they used to call the common flu. And they held their parades, and they held their movie theaters open, and those towns had thousands of deaths. The deaths were so bad that in 1918, they had to use mass graves because morgues were overrun, hospitals were overrun. Of course, at that time, there were no ventilators, and there weren't even antibiotics. They were very, the health system was not like it is today. And a lot of people are clinging to that, well, in our modern society, we have all kinds of modern healthcare and technology and science, and we're all going to be okay. Well, the truth of the matter is, if we look at China, who in an unprecedented move, never before in human history, has China quarantined millions of people. There are, many, many cities in China right now under complete quarantine. You're not allowed to use your car. You're not allowed to go into public spaces without going through checkpoints. And you're ordered by the government to stay in your house. You can't work, you can't go to school, and only one person in the household is allowed to go to a pharmacy or a grocery store, and that's only every 3rd day. And if you go online and you look at some of the videos that are, the very few videos that are being leaked out of China, it's a very grim, grim picture. And I thought it was my duty, just as a fellow citizen, to share what I know about viruses and pandemics and about the current state of what we're going through in the United States and the world. This is not a China problem. This is not a Singapore problem, which it's now spreading human to human in Singapore. We have 15 cases that we know about in the US, and all the experts agree there are almost guaranteed many more cases in the US that are going under the radar. And the problem with this particular virus is it has such a long incubation period, possibly up to 24 days. That's a long time that you could be walking around, shopping, going to the movies, doing your normal life, and you feel fine. But you literally can be shedding virus. You might just clear your throat and cough. Boom, out come particles of virus. They spread into the air. Now, the science has not been proven if this is an aerosolized virus. Now, what that means is that it would have droplets so small with live virus in them that they get suspended in the wind. and they still live, and they can be suspended in the air for quite a while, and the wind can carry them, and then they fall and they land on other surfaces, and now you have maybe somebody walks through that little breeze filled with virus and they inhale it, and that's how you get human to human spread. And that's exactly what happens with the regular flu. Is, you know, it can hang in the air, it lands on surfaces, you touch the surface, you touch your eye, you touch your mouth. But, you know, with aerosolized, it's even more dangerous because you can just breathe it in. There's no way to stop that unless you have an N95 face mask or above. N100 is even better, or some type of a protective suit, like you see the people wearing in the governments that are trying to deal with this pandemic right now. And I'm going to go ahead and call it a pandemic because I actually understand the definition, and the WHO it classifies it based on very particular numbers. They know it's a pandemic, but they're waiting for the numbers to get to the exact benchmark where they can technically say this is a pandemic. But most experts in the field they know this is a pandemic. A pandemic, by definition, is an epidemic that spreads globally. It spreads, you know, just like any other flu, but it's much more deadly. Now, one of the things about this virus, because it is so new, and we're still studying it, we have had other coronaviruses, but not this one. This is a very new virus, and that's why they call it a novel virus, because humanity has no immunity to this particular virus, and that is why it's so deadly. I lost my train of thought, but anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that when people say to you, more people die of the flu every year, you should be more concerned about getting a flu shot than worrying about this coronavirus. Well, they're right and wrong. They're right that yes, there are more deaths right now per year from the regular flu. The problem is that's going to change. The flu every year, and this is important to listen to, this is the thing that will help you understand why this is so different. The flu kills thousands of people every year. A pandemic kills millions. Do you see the difference? Millions. This pandemic has a very, very small hope of being contained. As a matter of fact, none of the experts are saying it's going to be contained, because it's already out of the bag. It's already in most countries. And the countries that do not have any cases will have them soon. Because of air travel, because of train travel, because of boat travel, because people move around the world so freely today, there is no way to stop the spread. So what can you do to protect yourself? Well, when you start seeing cases, and you will see on the news, they will not be able to hide this. There will be clusters of cases. You might see something on the news. There's a huge cluster of pneumonia cases at a particular hospital, whatever. That's your red flag. Your best bet is, if you want to survive this virus, is to self-isolate. If you can work from home, work from home. If you can stock up on food and basic supplies that you will need to stay in your house for an extended period of time. How long? I cannot tell you. No one can tell you how long. It could be months. It could be a year. There was hope in the beginning that this would be a seasonal thing, and that as temperatures warmed up, we would have less spread of the virus, because viruses don't like the super hot temperatures of summer. The problem with that theory is Singapore has proven to us that that's just not going to be the case. Singapore is very warm right now. It's 70, 80 degrees during the day, and the virus is spreading just perfectly fine over there. Singapore has one of the best healthcare systems in the world. They're extremely efficient. They have the best of everything over there, and still they cannot stop the spread of the coronavirus. I'm hoping these beautiful orchids will, bring you some peace and joy and let you calmly think about what I'm saying. I'm not trying to incite panic in any way. I just want people to understand that when you hear on the news that, this is just like a flu, that's not accurate at all. And they just don't want people to panic, because panic itself can cause problems and kill people, and they don't want everybody hoarding everything in the stores all at once. Every grocery store in the United States has about a 3-day supply. That is the truth. You can go and check that online yourself. A 3-day supply. And that's under good circumstances, when truck drivers aren't sick and they can drive their trucks to bring deliveries. In the case of a pandemic, when society starts to break down because, everyone gets ill, doctors are going to get ill, nurses are going to get ill, truck drivers are going to get sick and die. Lots of people are going to die. And that's how pandemics work. We have them about every 100 years or so. They vary in strength and in intensity. We had SARS to deal with in the past, and SARS burnt itself out. SARS was so deadly that it burnt itself out, and that's one of the problems with this particular virus. It has a case fatality rate around 2%, and that is much lower than SARS, but however, it's much higher. It's higher than flu, and those numbers could change as the pandemic spreads. So even with a 2% case fatality rate, that's millions of people that will die. If you have immunocompromised health issues, if you have any kind of health issues that affect your immune system, you're absolutely going to be more susceptible to the virus. And that includes myself. I have issues with my health. I have a mixed connective tissue disease, and I am immune compromised. And I take medicine, on a good day just to be here, being able to film this video. So I have to take particular care into not even catch a regular flu, let alone one as deadly as the coronavirus. So my family will be isolating. We're watching the news very carefully. I'm watching my local hospitals very carefully. When I see an uptick of cases of pneumonia, that's going to be my red flag. The problem is right now we're also in the regular flu season, and this year happens to be a particularly bad year for influenza A right now is what's going around in my area. It might be B where you are, but either way, both the A and B influenza are pretty nasty viruses. So that complicates the situation because, schools are shutting down even in some places in the US right now just because of regular flu. So it's going to be hard for hospitals to differentiate between regular flu and coronavirus. The difference is they can tell by CAT scan. The way the CAT scans are done, the lungs actually have a very specific condition. It has they call it a ground glass look in the lesions that appear in the lung. Radiologists and doctors, they will know. They'll be able to see it in the CAT scans. The thing is not everybody's going to get a CAT scan. And hospitals will very quickly become overrun. That's really going to be the sign that you're going to see is when there's hospitals overrun with people. There's not enough beds. There's not enough doctors. There's not enough ventilators. There's not enough of anything. I mean, there's billions of people in the world, and we just don't have the systems in place to handle the surge capacity that would be needed in a pandemic. And governments know this. Governments do have plans in place. I've actually read the one. It's a giant book that the U.S. government has. They actually have plans in place to ring quarantine cities. They have plans for mass casualties. They have plans for mass burial. They have units like surge capacity, like warehouses throughout the country where they have food and medical supplies that will help. Those things are definitely going to help. And still, even with, the best of everything that we have in the U.S., people are still going to die. There's just no way around it. Governments are very slow to act, and they probably will be in this case. In 1918, like I said, some cities, they didn't believe the hype and they were too slow to act. The ones that were slow to act had more deaths. It's that simple. If you don't close your schools, if you don't close your movie theaters, if you don't tell the public the truth that they should be keeping away from other people and they should have supplies on hand at home to be self-sustaining as much as humanly possible. If you don't tell your citizens these things and they go about life as normal, the outcome is going to be dire. That's just the way pandemics work. Again, I don't want anyone to panic. Don't panic. I mean, I was a Girl Scout. I was raised in a family of police officers and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and being prepared is just part of how I grew up. So we like to be prepared anyway. You know, my grandmother lived through the Great Depression, and that was ingrained in us that, you know, you don't waste things and you save things and you stock up and you get ready for winter. I'm a New England Yankee girl, and this is just part of how I was raised. So I'm not panicked. I'm not scared, but I am concerned. I'm deeply concerned for the world. I'm praying every day that we get some kind of luck and this virus mutates, which they do. They will mutate and change, and it will become less virulent or less deadly, less transmissible. But it could also go the other way, and it could get worse. So it just makes good sense to prepare now. Get ready. Teach your children, too, good hygiene. Make sure they're washing their hands as much as possible. Teach your children to not touch their face when they're in school. Don't touch your eye. Don't touch your mouth. Don't touch your face. It's almost impossible to get a child to do that. But teach them to just repeatedly wash their hands. Washing your hands is so important. That's like 90% of how it's spread, is like you touch, you have it on your hands from doorknobs and, you know, going in and out of public places, and then you touch your mouth, you touch your eye, you touch your food goes in your mouth. It's that simple, really. You know, it's helpful. Wash your hands. And if you have contagion in your town, which you most likely will in the next few weeks, you might want to get an N95 mask right now if you can. So when you do have to go out in public, you can wear the mask, you can wear gloves. You know, if you have a raincoat with a hood, even better. Wear that, tie your hood, get some goggles, even if they're ski goggles or swim goggles. You know, you want to cover your eyes because, believe it or not, if this virus is aerosolized, you will be able to get it through your eyeballs. So, you know, cover your body as much as you can. Wear a mask, gloves, and be very careful when you take all that stuff off when you're out in public before you come in your house. And wash up really good before you do anything. And I'll keep you posted. I'll make some more videos on this as things progress. And, you know, let's all hope and pray that this is nothing. I hope you guys can all laugh at me in a couple months and say, ha ha ha, remember when AquaWoman made that stupid video about the virus and nothing happened? I hope you guys get to laugh at me. I really do. So take care. Good luck. See you next time.